When the actress playing Daenerys reads her final script 7 times in disbelief and cries so hard she walks for 5 hours, blistering her feet, you know something went terribly wrong. And that's exactly what Emilia Clarke did when she found out how Game of Thrones would end. And Emilia Clarke knew it. This is the actress who carried the role for nearly a decade, survived fire, betrayal, dragons, and the long arc of becoming a liberator. And when she turned the page to read Dany Burns' King's Landing, she thought, what? Over and over. 7 times. Because it broke the character she had spent years building. To understand Dany's Mad Queen turn, we need to look at the show's writing, its characters, and yes, the showrunners themselves. Her reaction wasn't just emotional, it was prophetic, because fans felt the exact same way. First, because we never see any indication that Dany is capable of this level of destruction. Even after her brother Viserys was beheaded, she didn't snap. In fact, she took his death in stride. Second, Dany has always been against mass civilian casualties. Do you remember when she tried to negotiate with the slavers of Astapor? Or how she spared the lives of Loras and Margaery Tyrell? Yeah, us too. But here, she indiscriminately burns men, women, and children alike. But second, HBO wanted a definitive ending. As the network said, the show will conclude in 2019, wrapping up the story of these incredibly powerful characters. So by cutting the show from 10 seasons to 6, HBO may have unknowingly condemned Daenerys to failure, and the victim was Daenerys. The showrunners say they killed her to raise the stakes. But given the backlash, it seems they should have raised their standards instead. From her first audition in 2010 to her final day on set in 2018, Emilia Clarke poured her heart and soul into the role. She learned to ride a horse, fight with a sword, and command 3 massive dragons. She survived harrowing stunts and endured grueling hours on set. She even had a brain hemorrhage, and through it all, she made Daenerys feel human. She understood Daenerys' journey better than anyone and wanted to honor it. Second, she recognized that Daenerys' story was tragically inevitable. Over 1.8 million people signed a petition to remake the final season. Dany's arc became the #1 example in pop culture of character assassination. And the show's Rotten Tomatoes audience score for Season 8, 33%. The previous season, 89%. That's not decline, that's collapse. The show was always about duty versus desire, laws versus liberty, and tradition versus progress. Daenerys didn't become the Mad Queen. She was written into madness. It's not by fate, not by prophecy, but by writers who ran out of time, and worse, out of love for their own creation. In the end, the real tragedy wasn't Dany's fall. It was that we watched her soar for 8 seasons, only to have her wings clipped by bad writing, and Daenerys represented the latter. She was a force of nature who charged ahead without consulting advisors, council members, or generals. She freed slaves, challenged tyrants, and punished criminals. And in doing so, she alienated potential allies and made powerful enemies. So while viewers may have been shocked by her actions, Emilia Clarke saw them coming. She told Variety, "There are certain character arcs that cannot be altered. They must be forged in fire and tempered in suffering." And that brings us to our final point. Why? Well, when you condense storylines and compress characters, you lose depth, you lose nuance. We think she accepted it. There's a difference. She told BBC, she did horrible things, but she did them alone. She's a product of her environment, and that's not an endorsement. That's a grieving actor trying to protect a character the writers abandoned. You sacrifice quality for quantity, and you often leave your audience angry and confused. And it's not like they haven't noticed either. And that's exactly what fans felt when they watched Daenerys burn King's Landing. They demanded more. More context, more build-up, more understanding. Since the finale aired, HBO has greenlit for Game of Thrones spin-offs and prequel series, perhaps in an effort to course correct. But the bigger problem was the ending. Third, Dany's arc throughout Season 8 is oddly truncated. Remember how we mentioned her final script only arrived 2 days before filming? Well, her character arc was compressed in kind. We see her go from liberationist to genocide in a few short scenes. And fourth, if you actually rewatch the show, you'll find that Dany's entire motivation for conquering Westeros was to help people. She freed slaves, punished tyrants, rescued prisoners, and punished those who did evil. She didn't rule like Ares II, otherwise known as the Mad King. She ruled like a progressive, tolerant monarch. And yet somehow she becomes the very thing she set out to defeat. Let us be blunt. Daenerys Targaryen's descent into the Mad Queen came out of nowhere. Maybe, just maybe, Dany's actions aren't in character. If not, that means her arc throughout Season 8 and the series as a whole has been retconned. Well, first it might have seemed like a shocking twist, but it also might have been their solution to a story they couldn't contain. Throughout the series, Dany kept making power moves that put her at odds with, well, everyone. By the end of Season 7, she controlled the dragons, yes, but she also pissed off nearly every potential ally. Jon Snow learned he wasn't her equal. Tyrion saw her cruel streak. Varys realized she was dangerous, and Jon had to kill her dragons to save everyone. So unless she wanted to rule alone, which, spoiler alert, she kinda did, she needed to change. But instead of giving her a compelling internal struggle, or even a good external conflict, B&W chose shock. They made her a time bomb waiting to explode. And when it did, we were left asking questions that they didn't bother answering, like what triggered her. Where did this darkness come from? How could someone so determined to help people suddenly do so much harm? Fortunately, they chose shock over storytelling. Meaning the showrunners changed her backstory, personality, and motivations to fit a new plot that they conceived later. She cried. Then she walked 5 hours, alone. No phone, no handlers. Just Emilia Clarke, and the weight of a narrative collapsed so heavy, it bruised her emotionally and physically. She said the walk gave her blisters on her feet. That's not a metaphor. That's real pain. And if you feel that pain too, if you still can't believe what happened to the Mother of Dragons, then stick around for more deconstructions. We break down the biggest moments in pop culture to reveal what really went down. Now let's get into it. I can tell you exactly what happened in Episode 5 of Season 8. After Miss Andy was executed, Tyrion confronted Cersei in a futile attempt to broker a deal. But Cersei wanted total victory. So while Tyrion slept, Cersei ordered Euron Greyjoy to capture him and bring him before the throne. And when Dany heard Tyrion was missing, she lost it. No attempt to reason, no plan to save him, just burning everything to the ground. Why did Daenerys burn King's Landing? But that doesn't answer our question. Why did she do it? And let's start with the writing. Why does this moment feel so out of character? So now we come to a conclusion. Okay, but what about the showrunners? Why did Benioff and Weiss write Daenerys to be a genocidal maniac? And that's why this moment feels so jarring. But speaking of feeling jarring, we can't forget the third party in this equation, the studio. Why did HBO allow this controversial decision? Well, first, the studio likely trusted the showrunners' instincts. After all, they delivered 7 incredible seasons. So there you have it. By cutting the series short, HBO forced the showrunners to rush the last 11 hours of story. After all, it's not like Emilia Clarke was happy about it. When Emilia Clarke found out how her character would die, she questioned the creative decisions that led her there. Then came the final season. The scripts arrived late, the schedule was grueling, and the writing seemed off. When Emilia Clarke first read the script, she asked herself, where's the rest of it? Like, where's the rest of the story? So why did Emilia Clarke ultimately stand by her character's controversial turn? Well, first, she was a loyal performer. We don't think Emilia Clarke agreed with the Mad Queen turn. As for the fans, they responded with one of the most ferocious online backlashes in television history. When the woman playing the most powerful character in the show is left confused, heartbroken, and walking alone for hours, it tells you all you need to know. Thanks for watching. And if you want more deconstructions, then stay tuned for more pop culture breakdowns.